Welcome back to Gen the Fierce. This is episode 2 of Conversations While Gaming. Today's guest is my favorite dungeon master, lockpicking extraordinaire, and fellow neurodivergent, Cosmomcbuds. I had some sound issues in the beginning, so you missed the explanation where the first time I met him, there was no capitals in his name, so I thought his name was Cosmom. So I hope that you adore Cosmo as much as I do, and I'll see you in the next one. I met you. You were moderating for somebody else, and we played Dead by Daylight. And my first impression was like you were super freaking good at it. And then my second impression was that you understood all of my millennial jokes of like internet things like, but I'm lit tired. And I told Jake, I was like, this Cosmom, this mom in chat really gets all our jokes. I love this Cosmom. So how did you end up moderating for him in the first place?
I think it was just during the pandemic. I was just looking for cool streamers that were playing games that I was enjoying at the moment. And Hebo was playing Watch Dogs Legion, so I was really into that.
I was just so interested to see like how we ended up being friends because like you're one of my favorite people in the whole world now, and in a lot of the paths in which we ended up being friends are no longer part of, but they were like, they were like rivers that led us together. Also, one of the things I was like excited about is that we had talked about how I was like, I'd never played Dungeons and Dragons before, and you were a DM, and I was like, another point for Cosmom. That's a cool mom we got. When was the first time you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
High school. I moved in with a friend, and he had the 4th edition book, and I read that, and I was just like, "Ooh, let's do this. This is what I want to do now." And they were like, "We're all nerds, like playing the World of Warcraft board game and different board game nights." And they were like, "All right, well, let's try it."
How long did you play before you like decided to start DMing?
It was that night. We all looked at each other because we're like, we have to have someone to do a DM, and they all looked around and they looked at me, and I was just like, oh no, I had already read the book. I had doomed myself.
You read this is why I don't read the tutorials. This is what happened.
Yeah, they looked at me and they're like, you sound most knowledgeable. You do it.
That's your first mistake. What did you think about the DMing part? Did that give you any stress and anxiety, or was it fun?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it just because I didn't have any sort of standard of great DMs. It wasn't until like I met Frey and they showed me Acquisitions Incorporated and like the Dimension 20 stuff and a bunch of other like really known popular people that did Digital Dragons. And then I was just like, oh no, I wish I could be this good. But then you just kind of realize the more you play, the better you get.
Yeah, the very first DMs I ever saw was like live on Twitch, scripted, and then I was like, I want to be a DM, but the standard was so high.
Right.
Oh my god, it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm not very good at like improv, and you really need to be good at improv and voices. I mean, you're really great with voices.
Yeah, it works out. And then I have great players that like to just make up their own stuff, and I'm just like, yes, let's do that.
I just assume like a DM would be very like rules. I'm all about the rules. I really enjoyed that about that you follow the fun, like you're not like, oh well, technically. I mean, you do because I completely forget the rules, which is like a helpful reminder. It's not in a way in which just destroying the fun. It's just like staying in the parameters because I forget things sometimes.
I try to stick with the rule of cool.
And I like the characters that you come up with. Pizza is obsessed with Doom. You brought in a character that was from Doom. I was so impressed that you were trying to engage her in that way. What inspired that? I was really impressed. I was like floored. I was like, you get pizza. That was really cool.
I was just like, I need someone who's going to be really overpowered, that they're not just going to kick out of the group and be like, haha, loser, get out of here. So I was just like, how can I rope one person in that will just sway the whole group? And it's always either a cute, cuddly creature or someone that they're like, I like this person or I like this game.
It tends to go one way or the other. We're either like, we love them, they're our friend, or we're like, kill them.
Right.
Very chaotic.
Anytime an encounter doesn't end up with poop everywhere is a good encounter.
Our last session we had, our friend Pizza was a giant, was it a crayfish, a lobster, some sort of hard-shelled crustacean. Worst case scenario, when we were failing at all our rolls, they were just poop everywhere. That was our way out of most situations. It's quite the group of people. I really enjoy our group. I feel like the vibes are very good. Similar, like motivations, mostly.
Yes, we definitely have the balance between the line of badasses and chaotic goblins.
What's your favorite part about Dungeons and Dragons?
Probably my player's enjoyment. Like, I really like, guys, when people get invested in it.
What's your favorite part when you get to play and not be a DM?
Kind of sometimes like to let loose a little bit. With the players that like to just kind of tease me sometimes, because I have some power gamers, and so that's what I was just like. Sometimes I like to just do the power gamey things.
Everyone knows when we play and you're a player, your characters are always just like incredibly creative. I like that about your characters. Do you have a favorite character you've played as? Like, character you created for yourself?
Oh, my favorite. I have two. My favorite character to play as would be Badger, who was a goblin druid, and that was in Crochet's game. And I ended up playing that one character for a while, but I just liked the voice because it ended up being like kind of like this Marge Simpson, like, I don't really care what everyone's thinking about, but I'm gonna eat some faces, and then I'm gonna make a book out of this leaf. It's gonna be nice.
Nice.
My other favorite character was this elf named Avarice, but that was because she was like this shitty teenager, so I could be like kind of pessimistic and be like, oh, you're not going to do that because you're old. And I was just kind of like this brat the whole time.
What is your alignment of Cosmomcbuds? Because we know mine's just like chaos. What about you? What's your alignment?
I tend to be more chaotic neutral or lawful evil.
Is it laws in an evil way?
The way D&D puts it is, it's the difference between devils and demons. A devil will hold to a deal because there's laws and rules that they adhere to, and a demon, it will break any rule, just chaotic.
Like Rumpelstiltskin. I could see you playing Rumpelstiltskin in a show or something. Because he's like, oh damn, you guessed my name. I guess I can't take this. What am I gonna do? What was the first video game you ever played?
Probably Tomb Raider 1, because that was the first game my grandfather got me into playing with, like, oh man, we were on like the first computers.
Do you have a favorite genre of video games?
I like asymmetrical multiplayer, so one of my favorite games is Evolve, but that's a dead and old game. It's like a 4 hunters against 1 monster, and it's like on a jungly planet. It's really cool. I really enjoyed it. But the only problem is that it had a bunch of microtransactions, which if it was to come out nowadays wouldn't be a big thing, but when it was first coming out, people are like, I'm not spending $60 on a game and then another like $100 on microtransactions. That's wild. Who would do that? And I'm just like, look, nowadays I have like V-Bucks and stuff. That's nothing.
I remember when Destiny did that, people were mad, and it was like, it's just cosmetic stuff. It's so fine. It's fine. And people were like, that's crazy. And I was like, I want pretty stuff. I'm on board with this. What was the first thing you wanted to be when you grew up, Cosmo? Do you remember?
Probably a dinosaur.
Really? Nice. Did you like dinosaurs when you were a kid?
I'm still obsessed with dinosaurs.
Did you ever want to be like a paleontologist and dig up dinosaurs, or you just wanted to be a dinosaur?
I did kind of want to be an archaeologist, paleontologist when I was growing up, but I just wanted to dig in the dirt and find cool things. I didn't want to study anything.
Yeah, that's like not the fun part. The fun part is digging and then the little brushes. Okay, so what did you think of Jurassic Park movies? Did you like them?
Yeah, I like the Jurassic Park movies. I was 5 years old when the first one came out, and my grandfather gave me the VHS for Christmas. And the first 5 minutes when the dude's getting pulled into the storage tank, or the storage unit by the Velociraptor, haunted me forever.
I used to play it with my friends outside at recess. We pretend that we were like the kids when the dinosaur like ate the glass roof, and they were like trapped under the giant
nice.
That was our favorite part to reenact on the playground. The first thing I wanted to be when I was a kid was I saw the CBS special about child prodigies, and I was like, I want to be a child prodigy. And so I was like, I know, I'll be like the prodigy of spelling. So I was like, I think people would be impressed if I could spell Jurassic. So I made like a rhyme so I could remember how to spell Jurassic from Jurassic Park. So this past summer, I got to meet Cosmomcbuds in real life. IRL, me and my brother went on a sibling trip. Me and Killa went on a sibling trip. Killa is my brother-in-law, but I call him my brother because we're very close. We went on a sibling trip to go and visit I'm Still Condor, our friend, and we went to meet up with Cosmomcbuds and his partner Frey. So I didn't tell you, but I told them as soon as we got in the car. I was so anxious and nervous that Frey wouldn't like me that I just couldn't stop talking the whole time.
That's okay. I'm sorry that I just went into total like ADD shutdown mode. I was just like so quiet. I was like, I'm shy. I can't do this. I'm not good in person.
Cosmo was the complete opposite. Cosmo said nothing. And I couldn't shut up. We got in the car, and Killa was like, "So you said a lot of words, a lot of words." I was like, "I know, I was so nervous."
Yes.
I feel like you were exactly what I expected, probably including the quiet shyness when I met you IRL. What was your first impression of me, both in game and IRL?
I thought you were super bubbly. You're just a super positive person, and I loved being around you. And then in real life, I was just like, oh man, it's Jen the Fierce. I don't know whether I should ask for an autograph or a high five.
You should have run because I could not stop talking. That was like anxious, Jen. You
okay.
wanted to see. You saw it on full display.
Top 4 favorite movies, I would have to say.
Oh, Cosmo, what are your top 4 favorite movies? I'll just edit it in reverse later. No one's gonna know.
I really enjoyed Tenet, Fight Club, Shawshank Redemption, and then Repo Man. I love psychological twisty movies that make you think, which is probably why Repo Man and like Fight Club are on my things.
So you sent me that TikTok.
I send you a lot of TikToks.
You did, yeah. I'll explain it. So you sent me that TikTok, and they were talking about if you had a bookshelf with a secret door when you pulled a book, what book would it be, and what would be behind it? And I told you my answer. I would want a sensory deprivation chamber. Where I can just go and it's dark and quiet and soundproof and I can just zone out. And the book would be like called The Quiet Place or something. What would yours be?
Probably it would be one of his Dark Materials books. It would probably be The Subtle Knife would be the book that activates. But I think I'd have my own private like sauna room, like little steam room. When I worked at the spa, there were days that like there was nobody there, so I could just use the spa. And it's like kind of like a sensory because it's just like the only thing you hear is the steam being blown out, and it's nice. It's hot. I like it. There's no one to bother you. No outside sounds. But I sent you those TikToks with like that jacuzzi with like the thunder and lightning room. That would be cool too.
Yeah, like I get overstimulated every day. I take a nap, but it's even if I don't sleep, I just go in my room with like earplugs in, but not just silence. Like I also put like white noise sounds on. Mm-hmm. That would be the best for me. Would be like I would love a thunderstorm room while I'm taking a nap. I'm curious. I didn't realize I was neurodivergent growing up. I've only realized it in my 30s. Mm-hmm. I know that you've said before that you were neurodivergent. Did you grow up knowing that you were with any resources?
Yeah, I grew up knowing. I was diagnosed with ADD when I was 6, 7 years old. Mm. So I always knew that I had like that sort of learning disability. So I was always in like special ed classes and RSB. It was always weird. Well, it was kind of back and forth. I was like, you have so much potential. You just got to apply yourself. And instead of looking at the fact that maybe the system wasn't a great setup for people like me. So every day, instead of going to multiple different classes in OCR, I only sat in one classroom all day and I just did packets of work. God. And they were just like why?
Complete opposite of what they needed to give you.
Yeah, so like in the morning, I'd get my packet of work, I'd blast through it by like lunchtime, and then I'd be like, I'm done. And the teacher was just like chill. She'd be like, all right, go ahead and just like, draw comics or color or whatever the heck you want to do. And I was like, cool. And I got to listen to my music. That was the only cool thing is that they were very accommodating for things like that.
That's good.
Because I got put on like a plan. And I was allowed to listen to music in class, and I was allowed to eat snacks within reason in class.
When did you ever first get into comic books? What was the first comic book you ever read?
Ooh, comic book. First comic. I got into comics when The Darkness came out. Because I liked Spawn as a kid growing up. I was really into that, and when The Darkness came out, I ended up seeing a sting for it, and I was like, that's so cool. And I was like, oh, it's a comic book, so I ended up reading the comics. And then kind of branched into DC and Marvel when I met my other friends who were really into comics. Because one friend's really into Marvel, X-Men, and the other friend was really into Miracle Man, but he also liked Superman and stuff, so I ended up reading a lot of Batman comics. And we'd always go to the comic shop, buy all the comics that we'd like, and then we'd read them on that day. And pass them around and share the comics. So I didn't have to buy any of the Superman or Spider-Man comics. I just got to read them because my other friend bought them.
Do you have a favorite comic book character?
Very niche-wise, I really like Death from the East of West series, or the main girl from Wicked and Divine. But if I had to choose like a superhero, I'd probably just go basic, be Batman.
Nice.
All my favorite superheroes are just obscenely rich because I like Moon Knight, I like Green Arrow, and I like Batman.
Did you just like happen to notice that, or is that why you
I
like
just
them?
happened to notice after a while because I read a lot of Green Arrow for a while.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, I like Batman too. And I got into Batman. And then I found out about Moon Knight because I think it was Mark Ellis came out with his own streak. And that was before the show came out. So
Yeah. I mean, I remember you
I
were
was
telling
just
me all
like,
about it
oh, wow.
before the show came out because you like already knew about
Yeah,
it.
because I was like, I really like Moon Knight. And I was like, this is cool. Because he was like Batman, but he doesn't care about killing people. So I was just like, this is cool.
When was Cosmo start following Swamp Thing? When did Cosmo start following Swamp Thing?
That was one of the first DC comics, Animal Man and Swamp Thing. So when my friends were showing me DC things, I got into comics when the New 52 started. So say last 10 years. But that's when I started following Swamp Thing.
If you could go back in time and give, young Cosmo any advice, what would you say to them?
One, I would tell them to go hug my mother. There's a lot of loss in my life, and that was just like, it's just going to be okay. Just go with the flow because fighting it never works. And it was just a lot more stress and anxiety and trouble to try and fight things when I could just kind of go with the flow and just experience life as it comes to me and be grateful for every opportunity as it comes instead of regretting the things that I couldn't do or the things that I missed.
There's two things about Cosmo that I forget all the time because I'm very bad with memory. Is that I forget about your mom, and I'm really sorry about that because I make your mom
That's okay.
jokes like every 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I live that all the time.
Literally every 5 seconds, I'm making a your mom joke, and also that you're colorblind. I can't believe I forget that all the time. I mean, we were just playing a game with colors. How was that?
It works out that they're primary colors.
But I noticed Green Arrow's parents passed. Batman. I didn't think that was part of why you found them relatable. Maybe his mom.
I don't know. I've never really thought about like my mom passing as like a big part of my personality because my mom and I weren't really cool until like the very end when she was sick and I was taking care of her. I kind of just had to like bite my tongue and just kind of created a bit of a respect between each other.
Right.
Before
How
it was
old were
over.
you when she passed?
I was 20.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I know that you and your family don't share a lot of political beliefs or life beliefs. I believe, is that correct?
My mom was very progressive and my father's very conservative, and I tend to be more progressive. So me and him don't get along. One of my mom's favorite movies was Walk Hard, a Dewey Cox story. One of the main quotes from that is, "The wrong kid died." So I always joke with my sister, I'm like, "The wrong parent died." So a bit dark, but
So when
Yeah.
you say that like you're holding your tongue, was it just like normal? They're older than you and then just don't get you.
I mean, I'm older now, and I kind of realize I wasn't planned, and my father is a bit of an asshole. She really worked herself really hard. She had a 7 days a week job that worked basically all night to support the family, and my dad would just kind of do his seasonal construction job, and then he'd go do his motorcycle trips and stuff like that. I had received flack from aggression that wasn't necessarily needed to be pointed at me, but I was the closest one there. From my mom and my dad, they'd be pissed at each other and I would receive the consequences. So, but hey, now I don't have to deal with that. I killed that traditional trauma.
That's good. And the cycles.
Right? But I love my life right now where I'm at. I'm having a lot of fun. My career is finally at a point where I'm not like coming home every day dreading going home to work the next day.
Who do you look up to in your industry?
Harry
You said who
Houdini.
do you need?
Yeah, he's probably one of the greatest locksmiths out there. Not only did he kind of create some of his own locks that he could manipulate and use in magic tricks and stuff like that, but he was also picking some of the best stuff out there because he had to, because people would be like, oh, well, I bet you can't do it out of this lock, and start slapping on their own stuff.
Yeah.
So he had to be able to do that, and I was just like, that's kind of wild to be able to improvise and adapt that well. Locks have kind of aged differently because there used to be like, when there was guilds, craftsman guilds and stuff, locks were a intricate beauty art thing more than it was a security thing. That's why you see like lock boxes that were like in old lock boxes are really ornate, even though you could stick a paperclick in them and open it.
Jake asks, is Cosmo a fan of the lock picking lawyer? Do you know who that is?
Yeah. He's cool. I like him. People think he's kind of fake, but at the same time, if you go to the site, you can see he works with guys that are like in the CIA and retired like, special force operatives, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, this dude is like literally super classified, and this is all he does is probably work with the highest security products, and that's his job. And that's why he's super good.
Is there a scene from a movie that scarred you for life? Let's just ask that.
I don't know if I would say scarred, but there's a scene, or to say an episode, that I can't stop from reacting emotionally to. And that's the last episode of The Midnight Gospel. That's where he talks to his mom before she dies. I watch it every few years, I would say. It's on Netflix.
I haven't seen this. That looks really cool.
Based on a podcast. It just deals with loss and stuff like that, and just kind of, it helps, but at the same time, like, it's emotionally triggering.
Yeah.
But they talk about good things, and it really does help.
I really like animated shows like Steven Universe and also Adventure Time, because they're both like animated, but they still deal with like really deep issues. The whole arc of the Ice King dealing with the Alzheimer's. Did you watch Steven Universe?
No, I haven't, but it's okay.
The whole last season deals with the fact that like everything's happy now, but he spent most of his time trying to serve others. He has no idea how to take care of himself. So like dealing with self-care and like how his whole identity is in like other people. The earlier seasons were really good and represented a lot of other things, but then they took that whole twist with it, and I was like, that's really good. If you could live in a sci-fi world, which one would you want to live in?
Oh boy. Dang. My first gut reaction was to say the Mass Effect universe, but I don't want people to think I made a perv. I'm just like, I really like the game.
I want to flirt with everything. Mass Effect is really good, though. I loved the Mass Effect games.
Oh, yeah. Mass Effect 2 was probably one of my favorites.
What did you think of Andromeda? I thought Andromeda was good. A lot of people hated it. I thought it was great. Did you play that one?
I don't know if I ever got halfway through it or not. Yeah, it's just one of those games that just didn't kind of pull me in because I was so salty after 3.
Yeah. I mostly liked the glitches because I had it earlier when they were still glitchy and the graphics were terrible. If you had a genie come and ask you 3 questions, like you get 3 wishes, what would you want for 3 wishes from a genie?
Oh, man. That depends, because if I could control the genie, I would ask for more wishes, and then when he goes, you can't do that, I'd be like, I wish I could.
Oh, dang. I never heard that before.
No one ever wishes to break the rules.
Other than that, trolling. What else would you wish for?
I don't know. If I could have anything, I wish I could be a sentient cloud of fog. But I was like, that's cool.
That I could detach myself from my body sometimes. Well, that's probably bad.
That's like such a neurodivergent answer.
But I could see how that in any sci-fi movie that could take that and quickly it would be like manipulated. Like what that show, they don't want to be like mentally aware when they're at work. Yes, Severance. I could see how that could easily become like problematic, but I could see the temptation to turn my brain off.
Just want to check that.
But that's basically called that's called dissociation, and that's a bad thing.
Did I send you that TikTok where it said that neurotypical people, like when they go to sleep, their brain just shuts off, like they don't have like noises or anything? And I was just like, how do you not have like a theme song constantly playing in your head?
There's always something going in my head. The more and more that I like reflect on stuff, I'm like, how did I not know I was neurodivergent as a child? I was such a weirdo.
I always didn't want to be. I just didn't want to be labeled worse because I was already the kid with ADD, bouncing off walls and had trouble like focusing. And I was like, I just didn't want to be like more, because I dealt with like kids that were like really autistic in class and stuff like that. Not that that's a bad thing, but I was a little kid, and it's just like kids are stinky and mean. Some of those kids were hilarious. I had some really great autistic friends growing up.
I was always friends with like the boys, and then if I had any female friends, which was not very often after puberty, then they were probably neurodivergent, ADHD.
My mom knew I was probably on the queer spectrum because all of my friends were like a lot of my friends at school were girls. Don't know what it is. Like to listen. Yeah,
well, because you get that, like, you're not afraid of the femininity versus, I feel like...
Yeah, because that's also, like, kind of something my grandma did to help me grow up. Is my grandma was a very matriarchal kind of woman. She, like, wore pantsuits and wore masculine-style clothes growing up. A suit wasn't a man's thing to wear. It was like, my grandma wears a suit. She's not no man. Some of my friends have told me I'm great in small doses. And then there's other friends that are just like, dude, I love you. You're like the coolest person around. Like, you're hilarious. And it's just like, I don't know if am I a different person between these two people?
Well, that's interesting. What is the commonality of the people that say that they need you in small doses? Are they neurotypical, perhaps? Do you think? Or
probably,
what do you...
I think so. Yeah, I would definitely say that.
Because I would definitely not say that about you. I'd say they're one of my favorite people in the world. But again, that's probably because I'm neurodivergent. I wonder if it's just those people have a low tolerance for like, the differenceness.
Yeah.
One thing I tell my kiddo a lot, and myself, is that our neurodivergence and our being extra sensitive is a superpower, because we tend to like be a canary in the coal mine and be aware of things sooner than other people. Is there a way in which you've seen your neurodivergence be one of your strengths and your superpowers?
I have good pattern recognition, which is probably why I'm a really good locksmith. I have a wall of like 300 to 500 different keys on a wall. And people bring me in keys, and I just like, they'll just hand me the key and they're like, I need a duplicate, and I'm just like, oh, it's this one. And that's definitely an autistic thing, because a lot of people in the shop that are journeymen who have been doing this for 20, 30 years can't even do that. I used to be really good at this game called Sniper Elite, but I think that was also eye for detail and being colorblind, because I could just it was people were slightly different colored, and I could just see them slightly move. I'm like, oh, there's.
Is there anything you're not pursuing right now that you wish you were pursuing?
I wanted to be a park ranger, or way up in there in the park ranger, but I can't because I'm colorblind. You have to pass.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. Same thing with being a fireman and a pilot. I wanted to be a fireman first.
Did you show them that you can see the sniper in those things, though? Like,
no.
Oh, I can see the sniper.
Nope, it's the bubble test. I'm sorry. It's where they always get me.
Damn. What does the world need to know about Cosmomcbuds?
I'm better online than in person.
Well, thank you so much for letting me interrogate you. I appreciate it, Cosmomcbuds.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Bye.